Have you ever just been sitting in your house drinking a cup of coffee and you realize the past is gone? We'll never be young again. Let's take a look at some classic commanders. Everyone, each one of us has that time, whether it be distant or closer in the rear view than it appears, when you first started playing Commander. You built a deck, you did some research, you realized Sol Ring exists. Those were the halcyon days filled with laughter and lots of cocaine. We wore bell bottoms and danced to the Bee Gees. Maybe that was a fever dream, I don't know, but you get the idea. For me, it all started in 2013 with three bros. We had a great Commander game. I built this Lazav deck. One of the bros moved away and then another came along and we started the play group again. And then the original two guys left, although we're still friends and stuff. And then me and the new guy started playing with a bunch of other new guys. Everything is cyclical, you know. It was almost a decade ago and it got me thinking about classic Commander, all the nonsense we used to try and pull. Anyways, if you're anything like me, you get excited when a new set comes out. There's new cards, there's new commanders, you want to build them, you want to slot the new cards into your decks. It's just part of being a Magic player, getting caught up in that never-ending swirling hurricane of hype. There's a ton of talk about the intellectual tax all these releases has on your mind. Oh, well, there's a new draw engine, there's a new combo engine, blah, blah, blah. You gotta keep up, you gotta get the new thing. Really, you don't. You can take a Commander deck from 10 years ago, put in a few things, and just rock out. So take a break with me, buddy. Hang out with your old pal Nikki G and reminisce about some awesome classic Commanders. How about Samut, voice of Dissent? She's out there on the streets doing a felony, dude. 3 red and a green for a legendary creature, human warrior. It's a 3/4 with flash, double strike, vigilance, and haste. Other creatures you control have haste. Has white, untap another target creature. Before she was a planeswalker, Samut was a very diesel legendary creature. This is so old it doesn't even have the new legendary frame. Look at all you get for 5 mana. You get 4 keywords, you get haste on all your creatures and that untap ability. Since she has vigilance, she can swing and then untap a creature with an activated ability. Awesome card. Human, warrior, 2 very relevant creature types. Human tribal is very doable. Equipment is also brilliant with double strike and vigilance in these colors. Samut is a monster and an old commander you should check out. In the new sets, Urtai kinda got a new look, but this is the classic Urtai the Corrupted. 2 white, blue, and a black for a legendary creature, Phyrexian human wizard. It's a 3/4. Has blue and tap, sacrifice a creature or enchantment, counter target spell. This fella, he's got a lot of lore. He's got some bad Phyrexian hair plugs and he's got arms sprouting out of his arms. Classic Esper control commander. This guy comes down and makes life miserable for everyone in the pod. The interesting thing is you can use some pretty crappy enchantments like Induced Amnesia. 2 and a blue for an enchantment. When Induced Amnesia enters the battlefield, target player exiles all cards from their hand face down, then draws that many cards. When it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand. I don't know why Jace keeps messing with this Vraska dude, just leave her alone. And other cool cards like Treacherous Blessing, 2 and a black for an enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose 1 life. When it becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. And you can slot in Guile. Not the Street Fighter Guile, this weird owl caterpillar guy. 3 blue, blue, blue for a creature, elemental incarnation. It's a 6/6. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, instead exile that spell. And you may play that card without paying its mana cost. When this is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. You'll never forget the first time you play against Jeleva, Nephalia's Scourge. 1 blue, black, and a red for a legendary creature, vampire wizard. It's a 1/3 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, each player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast it. When she attacks, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from among cards exiled with Jeleva without paying its mana cost. All the way from the Commander 2013 product, we have an interesting spellslinger commander. Jeleva is surprisingly nuanced. She's a commander that wants to balance big spells like Worst Fears and Army of the Damned with newer playing from exile payoffs like Keeper of Secrets and Prosper Tomebound. Jeleva is fun. The problem is the fiddly ETB effect, tracking the stuff in exile from each player's deck. But, you know, she's got flying, which is nice to be able to swing in. Look at that art though, man. She's begging for a bagel or something, dude. Look at this total Chad. We got Thantis, the Warweaver. 3 black, red, and a green for a legendary creature. It's a 5/5 spider with vigilance and reach. All creatures attack each combat if able. Whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, put a +1/+1 counter on Thantis. Classic Jund. I mean, really, if you build evasion, death touch, fight spells, combat, board control, sacrifice. This guy, it's a spider, it's Thantis, but it's not a mantis, which is kind of a flavor fail, but whatever. This feller just throws a monkey wrench into everyone's utility creatures and is a big pain to deal with. Look at this sweet ride this lady's got. Anafenza the Foremost is a white, black, and a green for a legendary creature human soldier. It's a 4/4. Whenever she attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on another target tapped creature you control. If a non-token creature an opponent owns would die, or a creature card not on the battlefield would be put into an opponent's graveyard, exile that card instead. Oh my god, look at that chariot being pulled by goats. She's wielding a sweet two-handed sword, dude. Forget about it. +1 counters decks in these colors can be very strong. You have cards like Hardened Scales, Corpsejack Menace, all these sweet counter increasing cards, plus Anafenza has some sweet stats for a 3-mana commander. Human payoffs can be very strong in these colors, and we have all these Outlast creatures that boost our combat capabilities with the added bonus of nuking graveyard strategies. Come on. And here we got Shu Yun, the Silent Tempest. 2 and a blue for a legendary creature, human monk. It's a 3/2 with prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay a hybrid red-white. If you do, target creature gains double strike until end of turn. First off, take a look at this hunk, right? He's prepared his whole life for this moment. He has no hair whatsoever on his head, on his body, anywhere. This guy doesn't even have hair in his sink. He's got no sword, nothing. Would you mess with a guy staring you down like that? And he's a magic card who can be your commander. You can get your Sun Forger out there, get double strike. You got all these cards that are targeting him, making him unblockable. All the while, this guy is staring you down, dude. I'm not messing with him. Another classic commander, Sidisi Brood Tyrant. 1 black, green, and a blue for a legendary creature, Naga Shaman. It's a 3/3. Whenever Sidisi Brood Tyrant enters the battlefield or attacks, mill 3 cards. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into your graveyard from your library, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. This is an easy to build and way more powerful commander than you think. Self-mill, mass reanimator. It's more powerful than ever, dude. We got some new toys in Kaldheim. Zombies, dude. Zombie payoffs. Lots of directions to build this into. A very fun deck to play. A lot of cons block commanders. I just realized that. Surrak Dragonclaw. 2 green, blue, and a red for a legendary creature. Human warrior to 6/6 with flash. This spell can't be countered. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have trample. Both his rank and his scars were earned in single combat against a cave bear, dude. This guy crawled inside a bear and made it his jacket. Imagine walking up to an apex predator, right? Big giant bear. Look it right in the eyes and then walking down the runway wearing its skin. Sounds like the next RuPaul show. Anyways, this guy's pretty efficient for the cost. Temur is a very powerful color combination. This guy lives in the shadow of Animar, right? And that's a tough place to live. Rendering counter magic mute in a creature-based deck is pretty powerful though. Temur has a ton of combos, lots of power. High power creatures getting trample is a great space to build into as well. So listen man, the next time a new commander gets spoiled, take it, put it next to these classics. Take the plunge, build a budget deck around one of these guys. Look backward in time, appreciate your roots. What got you into this hobby in the first place? Take a look at your first deck, rebuild that bad boy with a new skin. Remember, something inspired you to get into this hobby. Let's rediscover that together. This is Nicky G from Better Commander, signing off.